So in this video, I'm going to be analysing how Pochettino used Idrissa Gueye and Ander Herrera effectively, what City could have done differently to break down this PSG side, whether Pep Guardiola used Grealish in the wrong way, and whether Messi actually makes PSG a better team, or does his presence create defensive problems for Pochettino's side. But before I get into that, for cheap good quality football jerseys, retro jerseys and tracksuits, go over to www.jerseyfever.com, a link will be left in the description, and use code ATLANTISFOOTBALL for 5% off. So let's start off by analysing what Manchester City did in possession and how PSG tried to combat them. As you can see here, Manchester City are using a 2-3-4-1 shape in possession, with the two centre-backs the deepest line, and if you look, the full-backs are actually maintaining a lot wider positions than they usually do. We often see Guardiola use inverted full-backs, where either Walker or Cancelo will move in field when City have possession in the middle third, playing more as central midfielders. But because Pochettino's side defended in a 4-3-3, with Neymar and Messi pushed up high alongside Mbappe, that space is taken up, and so Guardiola has instructed the two fullbacks to maintain wider positions to give City a wider base to circulate the ball around PSG's narrow front three. Ahead of that three in front of the two centre backs, we can see that De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva have pushed up very high, sitting in the half space, with Grealish and Mahrez holding very wide positions in the middle third, and this was done to try and drag the PSG fullbacks over to the wingers to close up that space and hopefully create space then between the fullback and the PSG centre-back for De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva to make runs into, or even in the half space, if Idrissa Gueye and Ander Herrera get pulled out, that space is there for Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne to drop into and receive the ball. But Pochettino's side dealt with this problem very well. If you look, they're defending in a 4-3-3 and they're sitting quite passive, allowing Manchester City centre-backs to play the ball between them as the front three sit on the halfway line. But what we actually see is that the PSG backline is also very high, and what this does is it compresses the space between the PSG midfield line and the PSG defensive line, and therefore the space for De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva throughout the game wasn't there as much as it would have been if PSG had dropped back and tried to close off the space in behind their back line. City did nearly exploit this space. If you remember in the first half, Sterling made a good couple of runs in behind the PSG backline, and I think he got in a couple of times as well, so that space was there, but PSG were prepared to allow that space to develop in behind their backline if it meant they could be vertically compact. And if you look at this 4-3-3, they're incredibly vertically compact, and this was what caused City problems when in possession. But City didn't have any problems in progressing the ball into PSG's half, and this is why, if we look at PSG here, as City have the ball in their defensive third, the PSG aren't really pressing very aggressively. You can see the front three are positioned high up the pitch, but if you actually look, it seems pretty easy for City to play out. The fullbacks width and the wingers are there because City can then circulate the ball around PSG's front line, and this is what they did throughout the game, so it was pretty easy for Manchester City to get into PSG's half, but Pochettino was prepared to allow this to happen, and this is why. So due to Messi and Neymar retaining higher positions when the ball was in PSG's defensive third, not tracking back and following the wingers and creating a 2v1 situation, Manchester City could easily funnel the ball down the flanks, but Pochettino was prepared to allow this to happen because he had Idrissa Gueye and Ander Herrera playing as very disciplined wide central midfielders, and they would pull over and create a 2v1 situation or a 2v2 situation when City were able to shift the ball into these wide positions. And Herrera and Gueye were really what made PSG so good in this game. Their diligence, their athleticism, and their ability to drop back and read the situation, and even Hakimi and Mendes in the fullback position I thought were excellent throughout the game, with Hakimi in particular being excellent defensively in one-on-one situations against Jack Grealish, rarely even getting beaten at all. I can't really remember Grealish getting the better of him, and he made a couple of great interceptions from crosses, getting across, reading the game and getting the header to cut out the ball. So Hakimi was fantastic, as well as Idrissa Gueye and Ander Herrera throughout this game. And in possession, we saw PSG move to a 2-3-2-3 shape in possession, and this is what led to the first goal, and in particular the width of Messi and Neymar. If you look at this phase of play, we can see the ball's in the middle third, and usually you would expect Neymar and particularly Messi to be moving inside into the half space to pick up the ball in central positions, as we've seen both players really play that role of a trequartista probably since about 2016 at least, maybe even before that. In this game, Messi and Neymar are stretched out wide playing almost as Guardiola wingers do, and this is what creates a first goal. So Gueye has a ball in this phase of play, and the ball goes into Mbappe, and because Messi has held his position out wide, that passing lane is open. If Messi had moved infield into a central position, there's going to be no one in that advanced area, unless Hakimi motors forward, but Hakimi's a fullback, so he's obviously starting a lot deeper, particularly in the back four. So if Messi's not out in this wide advanced position, PSG don't get the ball into him, and this goal probably wouldn't materialise from this position. As the play moves on, we can now see we've got Messi on the ball, and we've got Mbappe and Hakimi either side of him, creating a free in that right flank. And as the ball gets moved into the final third, Hakimi has the ball in the flank, and because City are using a back four, Diaz has to maintain a central position, and when Cancelo moves out to Hakimi, there's a space that develops for Mbappe to make the run into. Hakimi's pass is very good, and when Mbappe plays a ball across, the ball falls to Idrissa Gueye, and his finish is very, very good. If he hits the shot low and hard, this shot could easily be blocked, and when he goes to hit it into the top corner, it looks like it's going to go over the bar, but it crashes into the net. And I think we have to give Pochettino credit for this particular goal, as a lot of managers would have just allowed Messi and Neymar to roam in field and had the fullbacks pushing forward providing the width. But Pochettino recognised that Manchester City's weakness could come on the flank, particularly with them playing a back four, and he exploited this perfectly. So like PSG, Manchester City's best way of creating chances when in the final third was going to come down the flanks. Here we see Rodri has the ball, and you can see the pass into Kevin De Bruyne is open, and De Bruyne is in the half space, and he has that space because obviously, as I said, PSG were playing a narrow midfield three, concerned with stopping the space between the lines in front of the centre backs, so they were willing to give up this space. The ball goes into De Bruyne and then out to Grealish, and it was from these positions where I think Guardiola could have done a lot better with his personnel selection. Grealish is a good player, but he's more of a playmaker than a winger. He is a ball carrier who can dribble the ball forward, but he does it through central positions. When he's on the flank in a one-on-one, he's not going to go past a player down the outside because he hasn't got that pace, especially against a quick player like Hakimi. So he's always going to be wanting to come inside on his right foot, and that made his play predictable and easy for Hakimi to defend. And if you look through the whole game, Grealish didn't really create many chances from going down the outside, but he did create a chance when he laid the ball back to De Bruyne, who was just behind him, and De Bruyne's inside of the boot cross fell for Sterling, who headed the ball, and somehow Bernardo Silva missed the target from literally 6 yards out after the rebound came down. But this chance wasn't created from Grealish going past Hakimi in that one-on-one situation, but from playing the ball back. And I think City would have had a lot more success in creating chances from the left flank if they'd gone with Foden, because he would have had the ability to go down the line and put in a cross, whereas Grealish was always looking to come back inside, and he needs that space to be able to do it. And with Idrissa Gueye and Herrera playing the role of the wide midfielders shuttling across, they were able to close up that space for Mahrez on the right side and for Grealish on the left side. Now in the first half, despite PSG having the lead, City did look like they were going to break through eventually with their pressure, particularly from the flanks, because with Messi and Neymar sitting so high up the pitch, there was space there for them to exploit. But I don't think Guardiola got his tactics right on the flanks with his interplay. See here, Mahrez has a ball on the right flank, and what I would be doing is getting Walker to be overlapping and creating that 2v1 situation. They do eventually create a chance with Mahrez playing a ball down the inside for the underlapping run of De Bruyne, but overall throughout the whole game I think City would have had a lot more success if they'd used what PSG were doing, having 3 players in that flank lay of Messi, Mbappe and Hakimi making the overlapping run, Mbappe making the underlapping run, which gave Messi more options from the first goal. If City had done this more often, having Walker overlapping and De Bruyne underlapping Mahrez, I think they would have been able to open up PSG a lot more on that right flank, particularly with Neymar and Messi not tracking back and leaving it to the wide central midfielders. Now it obviously was hard for Manchester City to break down PSG when they got 7 players behind the ball and closed of those spaces between the lines, but what City should have been doing more is trying to transition the attack quicker when there was a turnover in their own half, and PSG's midfielders Herrera and Gueye were positioned higher up the pitch and the space was there for them to exploit, particularly with Verratti isolated in the centre of midfield. And if they had played Grealish in a more central position, probably in Bernardo Silva's position, in a deeper role where they could have played a vertical pass straight into his feet and got him and De Bruyne carrying the ball forward, I think City would have been able to transition the attack quicker and get into the final third and had more opportunities to actually create chances when in those positions. Also, Pochettino made a slight positional change when out of possession. Instead of asking Idrissa Gueye to play as a functional midfielder in a midfield 3 alongside Verratti, he told him to drift further wide and essentially create a back 5 in certain circumstances when Manchester City had the ball in PSG's half, and this therefore closed off the space that Mahrez had in the first half. But as I talked about Manchester City needing to transition the attack quicker, PSG did this perfectly for the second goal. The ball gets shifted out to Messi, he carries the ball forward, plays a great 1-2 with Mbappe, which is almost undefendable. You can't really criticise City's individual defending much from the second goal. It's really Messi's brilliance that gets his goal. He plays a 1-2 with Mbappe and his finishing to the top corner is perfect. And prior to the goal, you could see people getting ready to criticise Messi because he drifted through the game, pretty much had zero impact until this goal, and that's why he's in the side, because PSG, the goal comes 20 minutes from time. If Messi doesn't score this goal, they could be under a lot of pressure and potentially draw or lose the game, but Messi kills off the game and this aids PSG in getting the victory. So overall, Pochettino's use of the wide central midfielders Idrissa Gueye and Ander Herrera was crucial to PSG's defensive performance, stopping Manchester City being able to create overloads on the flanks. However, I do think that City could have created more chances down the flanks, with overlapping runs from the fullbacks and underlapping runs as well, and we saw what PSG did when they kept Messi out wide for the first goal and they had them over and underlapping runs. The underlapping run from Mbappe, which created the first goal, and the second goal comes from Lionel Messi's brilliance. So I think this game really summed up PSG well. If they can defend as they did in this game and rely on their attacking talents, then they have to be considered amongst the favourites for this competition because of that ability that they have. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that video, remember to subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications, give the video a like and go to the description to check out some of my other videos as well. Put your thoughts in the comments section below and follow me on Instagram and Twitter for more content as well.